You know, if you just look at the banner dates, you can get an idea of how valued Fina is. Dark Reign's banner lasts until, what, May 11th? On the other hand, Fina's banner is pretty much the 2-week period like everyone else's. And still more expensive too. Fina's Trustmaster reward is a materia that gives a double demon and bird killer, and boosts your unit's limit burst regen. You'll likely use it for the killers only because we have no way to organize by limit burst regen, but hey, it's double killers. Her Super Trustmaster reward is a hat. It has high magic, higher spirit, boosts dark resistance by 50%, and gives a double beast and aquatic killer. This one's strengths are much more pronounced, as there are several ways to take advantage of this equipment. One way or another though, you should definitely get some use out of it. Onto her active abilities. Fina has several magic spells, most of them white, some of them green. The white magic spells heal, cure status ailments, deal damage, dispels, and revives, though Banishka is the only one that can be awakened further. As for green magic, we've got Protectka and Shelga, which can also be awakened further, and Barrier, which can't. White Lotus Dew can be used twice per battle. It gives your team a strong re-raise, then gives them resistance to spirit breaks. Avian Slayer is unlocked at EX plus 3, granting your team the strongest bird killer buff in the game. Brilliant Veil imbues light onto your team, boost their light damage by 30%, and then boost their light and dark resistance by 100%. Delightful Glow will give her team a full re-raise, strong demon and human killer buffs, and can fill her limit burst gauge if it's at max level. Resolute Arrow is a physical attack that deals magic damage while scaling off her spirit stat and chains of floating strike. Passives. But for Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equip, Fina can get a 200% boost to every available killer, which is an amazing thing to give to someone who's not a damage dealer. She also automatically activates Resolve in the Face of Despair when she enters the battle, which can let her counter if any of your teammates are hit by a physical attack. More on that later. As for killers, even without the locked passive, she's got a strong demon killer buff, which, again, is just perfect for someone who's not a damage dealer. She also has a small limit burst regen. Fina here prefers to carry a single weapon, though she doesn't have a boost to the chain limit cap at all. Her normal attack has been changed to deal some damage and can heal your team. At the start of the battle, she'll also automatically activate Protective Light, which grants your team an HP barrier. She's also got an Esper Field, which, when activating Bahamut, will boost light damage by 30%. Let's look at her limit burst. It inflicts a 20% bow imperil, boosts your team's stats by 350%, boosts their limit burst damage by 250%, and their light damage by 45%. Onto her Super Limit Burst. As a healer, Fina has the incredible Super Limit Burst passive called Recovery Shift. Does it give your team a re-raise? No. Does it cure debuffs? No. Does it heal? No! It fills Fina's limit burst gauge, just like the other less impressive shifts. The Super Limit Burst itself raises the bow imperil to 30%, the stats to 400%, the limit burst damage to 300%, and the light damage buff remains the same. Let's rank Brave abilities. She has 1, but you do want to raise it if you want those strong buffs. So, EX2. As a Super Limit Burster, Fina automatically benefits from additional EX awakenings. Furthermore, at EX plus 2, she also got her Super Trustmaster reward, Avian Slayer, and Warring Spirit. Her Super Trustmaster reward is very capable. Avian Slayer is niche but strong, and Warring Spirit can let you start the fight with her Limit Burst, which is just a very strong tool. At EX plus 3, you get stats and her Vision card. The Vision card is what we'll be giving more attention to today. First, for stats, it boosts HP, defense, and spirit by a good amount, though these stats are largely overshadowed by the passives. The first one gives your unit a 15% MP regen, which could be useful for the MP-hungry units. The second one gives a 30% boost to all elemental resistance. And finally, the last passive, when equipped onto a healer, will automatically grant your entire team a re-raise buff. Now, in the Japanese version, this was incredible, mostly because the Japanese units were usually boring and they wanted to keep it that way. Thankfully, in the global version, we have much cooler units. Units who are usually slaughtered when transferred to the Japanese version, though Louise did get a buff through her voice acting, so I guess it's not all bad. Regardless, this last passive on Fina's Vision card isn't particularly noteworthy, as generally there's a problem if your team happens to require several revives to operate. Of course, this doesn't detract from the value of the first 2 passives, and while it won't make your team stronger, it can help a unit persist, which might make all the difference. But then again, this is a Vision card on a premium unit, so in the end it's pretty expensive. So how good is Fina, the Return? She's a great unit, which has been released several months ago. Of course, not everyone has such a Descendant Aerith, so it's pretty unfair to just write off Fina like that. Let's start with damage. In terms of damage, she does damage. In all honesty, with her current skill set, it's not very impressive damage. So let's just focus on support. She is currently one of the best light supporters in the entire game, only tied with the aforementioned Aerith. All things considered, she can actually be considered a better supporter because her limit burst damage buff is like 50% higher, but I'm sure that's not going to be enough to convince you to spend the extra 60,000 lapis. Aside from the limit burst damage buff, Fina is also rather distinct because of her other tools, namely her focus on healing, which Aerith couldn't do for whatever reason. However, we currently also have a very good healer, and while his light support is nowhere near Fina's level, Kresnik's capabilities cover many other spectrums. Nevertheless, the mix of strong support and healing makes Fina distinct, and her super limit burst can provide a steady stream of buffs at the higher levels. Her limit burst can also be used in non-light teams, since they don't have an imbue, which admittedly can be both a boon and not, depending on the fight. Ultimately, while Fina is a capable unit with many notable tools, she tends to fall flat when compared to others. She can surpass Aerith in buffs and healing, but lacks the much more practical Rod Impero that Aerith boasts. Her other support and recovery isn't as strong or as universal as other notable units, but there are few that can match her strength and light buffs. Overall, Fina is a strong unit with distinct strengths and weaknesses, and while she's a great addition to any player's team, her potential costs can make players hesitate to spend. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below if you got Fina, the return. She's a strong unit despite the competition, and she has a CG limit burst as well. However, she's also being released during the premium period, and unlike Dark Rain, she didn't receive any buffs. Not that this detracts from her, but it might be tight considering the many other upcoming units.